Now, 7 people have been injured in a bus crash in Maida Vale. Our correspondent Simon Harris is there for us now. Simon, what happened?
Duncan, this is the junction of Sutherland Avenue and the busy Harrow Road in Maida Vale, where, as you can see, a number 18 double-decker has crashed into scaffolding which surrounds a corner shop. Staff in the shop say the noise of the impact sounded like a machine gun, and not knowing what it was, they ran for cover in their cellar. It all happened between 2 and 3 o'clock this afternoon and was seen and watched by people sitting outside cafes.
When it came halfway to the zebra crossing, it accelerated even further straight to the corner shop, West 9. But it was really like from a movie.
London Ambulance Service says 7 people were injured. They described them as walking wounded, but 4 of them have been taken to hospital. Transport for London says it's working with the police and the bus operator to try to establish what happened. But one theory being suggested by people here is that the driver swerved to avoid a woman with a buggy.
Thank you, Simon.
The government has given the go-ahead for radical changes to planning laws, which could see more of London's green belt handed over to housing developers. The new measures were outlined today by the King at the state opening of Parliament. Ministers plan to introduce a new status of grey belt, but that's ringing alarm bells among those trying to protect green spaces in the home counties. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports from Surrey.
So we're looking at proposals for 461 homes and 15 travellers' pitches on the green spaces right here.
Green fields in the Surrey countryside, to the casual observer, the definition of green belt. But despite appearances, this land at West Byfleet no longer enjoys green belt status. Woking Council has earmarked it for housing. It's not hard to see why the site is so appealing to developers. It takes less than 5 minutes to drive to the nearest station, from where central London is a mere 30-minute train ride away. Opponents of the scheme fear Labour's changes to the planning laws will mean even more green spaces disappearing.
I think it's probably a sign of things that are yet to come. Local residents, particularly here in Surrey, will have major issues about building on our green open spaces and our green belt. And I think local residents do deserve the right to be able to say, actually, no, we do have concerns about that.
20 miles away, the King was on his way to Parliament to outline the new government's planned legislation. Changes to the rules to make it even easier to build on some parts of the Greenbelt will be a priority.
My ministers will get Britain building, including through planning reform, as they seek to accelerate the delivery of high-quality infrastructure and housing.
The government has promised 1.5 million new homes.
If we don't change anything, we'll just have a generation of young people for whom the dream of home ownership is never realised. We're not building enough houses in this country. We'll always consult with local authorities. We'll always put brownfield first. But at the end of the day, we have to build more houses, and that's what we intend to do.
Alongside brownfield sites, ministers are planning to redesignate some green belt as grey belt. Among opponents of the scheme in West Byfleet, that rings alarm bells.
What is a grey belt? Please, let's have a clear definition of what a grey belt it actually is from the government.
What do you suspect or fear that grey belt might mean?
It'll mean green belt. I'm 100% sure of that. That they will want to develop where they want to develop.
The developer here promises half of the new homes will be affordable. A historic apple orchard will be restored. Objectors say they won't give up the battle to stop it. Simon Harris, ITV News, West Byfleet.
Next tonight, Sadiq Khan was hoping it would be a match made in heaven, a Labour government working alongside a Labour mayor. But at a meeting with the new Transport Secretary Louise Haigh this morning, he was told he'll have to wait to find out whether the government will commit to extra funding for TfL. Our political correspondent Simon Harris was there.
London's mayor needs Louise Haigh on board. She's the new Transport Secretary and Sadiq Khan wants a lot of money from her, £500 million a year for starters. But the mayor will have to wait to find out if his charm offensive is successful.
Unfortunately, I've not come with my chequebook today, and that process will go through the comprehensive spending review and the budget at the end of the year. But we want to work in partnership because we want to deliver for London, and we know that spending in London supports the rest of the country as well.
In 2023, Transport for London asked the government for £500 million a year for the next 3 years, but it was given £250 million for 1 year only. Transport for London isn't in danger of going bust. It's unlikely any government would let that happen. But Sadiq Khan and his transport bosses argue that without long-term funding, they can't plan for the future. TfL has already had to renegotiate its order for 96 new Piccadilly line trains because it can't afford the payments up front. And plans to replace the 50-year-old tired and shabby trains on the Bakerloo have been put on the back burner.
Without long-term funding agreements, the Mayor and TfL cannot plan for investment, and key upgrades have been paused, such as not buying the new trains for the Bakerloo line or signalling upgrades, and that's before we start thinking about line extensions that will be necessary to accommodate population growth.
When Sadiq Khan launched his re-election campaign 4 months ago, it was with this rallying cry.
We can go from rowing against the tide of a Tory government to having the winds of a Labour government at our backs.
Are you confident Louise Haigh will give you the money you want?
Listen, Lou and I go back a long way. More importantly, over the course of the last 2 weeks, I've got to meet the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Chancellor, the Environment Secretary, and now this morning, the Transport Secretary. That's refreshing for me. That's what we need. A government that understands the importance of the capital city.
Transport for London is respected across the world, and we've seen the benefits of some of the work that it's done. Now, I'm not clear why Mayor Khan hasn't been able to provide it with a kind of long-term funding settlement, given that all the tools that contribute to that are directly under his control, including fares and the levels of tax that he raises on Londoners.
It's not just money the Mayor wants. He's also hoping to persuade ministers to give him control of more of London's suburban rail network. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Now, starting a new job always comes with its fair share of nerves, and it's no different for MPs, lots of whom are settling into Parliament. Among them is Harpenden and Berkhamsted MP Victoria Collins. She helped lead a surge of support for the Liberal Democrats to comfortably win in a place once seen as Tory territory. So what now? Well, our political correspondent Simon Harris spent the day with the new MP as she settles into her new role and tries to turn election promises into political reality.
The sewage discharge which has come out of the Marquet overflow.
On a chalk stream in the tranquil setting of a Hertfordshire valley, a newly elected local MP is brought up to speed on the latest sewage spill.
I've just come back from Markgate where it smells absolutely terrible. The smell is a giveaway, dead giveaway.
The River Ver is one of 4 chalk streams in the new constituency of Harpenden and Berkhamsted.
This one especially, I mean, we've had over 2,500 hours of sewage this year alone. I had 1,000 hours of non-stop sewage in March, and so really it's to say this is not on.
Victoria Collins has made tackling polluted rivers a key mission, much to the delight of environmental campaigners.
Absolutely do need the MP to take up the fight. It's a really good way of getting home the message to Thames Water that we need investment and the investment should be prioritised.
Berkhamsted, 25 miles north of Piccadilly Circus, is in London's commuter belt. Voters here had a long history of electing Conservative MPs. But in 2023, the Lib Dems made a breakthrough, taking control of the local council after a typical campaign stunt by the party leader. And Victoria was chosen as the party's parliamentary candidate. She began her career working for the European Parliament in Brussels.
Ironically, I actually got quite annoyed by or frustrated by politics, but it was really Brexit and the outcome of the referendum that got me fired and said actually things have to change. And then quite frankly, actually seeing Boris Johnson in government was another reason I definitely got more involved.
During the campaign, she enlisted the help of her parents.
When I was out doing different things, this big constituency, everyone was like, oh, your parents are great. So they were my ambassadors on the campaign trail, I think.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm.
Like many new MPs sworn in recent days, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump has made Victoria think about life in the public gaze.
It can be dangerous and you realise you're quite exposed, but actually it's our job as well to bring back some proper debate so that it doesn't turn into that kind of terrible situation that we're seeing unfold in the USA. How are you doing, by the way? How are things?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah, not too bad.
Victoria Collins won her seat with a healthy majority of more than 10,000. She plans to focus her attention on local issues like protecting the high street, cleaning up rivers and opposing the growth of Luton Airport. Simon Harris, ITV News, Berkhamsted.